sources tell Fox that Charlie Kirk's assassin was taken into custody in southern Utah, saying that we are on the ground and on the way. And we're going to continue to check with our friends over at Fox News to gather more. But in just about 15 minutes, we do expect a law enforcement update on all of this. Now, I'm checking our different feeds that are coming in, and I'm not seeing a podium or anything of that nature just yet. Once we get that shot, we're going to pull it up on your screen so you can see it. One thing I did want to ask you, Scott, is you have obviously the perspective from one agency that's involved in this, but how exactly would you say that local, state, and federal law enforcement work together on something this major, something like this? Does the federal agency kind of take over once they arrive on scene? How does all of that work?
I wouldn't say they take over. I know the FBI, especially when the director put out, hey, we're sending all available resources. I feel comfortable in saying that throughout the whole country, there are very good, if not formal task forces, there are informal task forces that come up all of a sudden, and they are federal, state, and local. So even though we haven't heard from them, I would imagine that prosecutors were involved very early in this. And so thereby, behind the scenes, outside of public view, they are determining who is going to be the lead. If a person is taken into custody alive, who is going to be in front of that person doing the interview? It is now up to the interviewers to be able to extract the right information they need, while you now have investigators that are either doing search warrants on vehicles, residents, wherever have you, to be able to say, is the person that the interviewers are talking to the person that we have in order to be able to fill out an affidavit and be able to get an arrest warrant? So it's integral right now, and I would imagine it's already been set up, that if this person was taken into custody, that the interviewers were already predestined to who they might be, which may be both a federal as well as the local lead detective for the actual homicide.
What question or maybe questions do you hope are going to be answered during this news conference? Again, we're just about maybe 10 minutes away from the scheduled start time of 9 a.m. Eastern time. What question or questions do you hope could be answered, as there are some details that we do know, quite a few of them, but still so many questions?
I think ultimately the motive, if this person is talking with the interviewers, it's not going to be something that's going to be readily available by the 9 a.m. press conference. And so they want to make sure that there's a reasonable certainty that the person in custody and hopefully talking is the person responsible for the crime. Remember, we've already had day one, a couple of pieces of information that had gotten out that a person of interest or a person is in custody, and then ultimately that person is released, which sends shockwaves and lack of security to those who are listening and watching. So I would hope that this press conference at least has enough information where the law enforcement, those who are providing the press conference, can say they have reasonable surety that the person in custody is the person responsible for the shooting, and the investigation is continuing. And then, of course, the interview I can see going on for quite a bit of time, because I've always said, no matter what, the motive which we all seek, lies alone with the person who did this. It is in their heart and mind, and they can write things and so forth. But without an interview and follow-up question, we really won't know the answers. Hopefully here, we will know the answers.
And you can see right there, the podium is set up and ready to go. We do have a few different angles. One of the shots you could see there did go out, but that is the podium set up. We are likely to hear from Governor Spencer Cox there, a Republican, over in Utah, as well as the Utah Department of Public Safety. Some other officials could be there, the FBI special agent in charge. It's not clear if Kash Patel will be there again, the FBI director. He spoke, or actually was there just last night, and he was seen looking on the rooftop of that building alongside others there because, again, the rooftop is where that suspect apparently fired the single shot that did hit Charlie Kirk, killing him on Wednesday there at Utah Valley University. Scott, I appreciate you taking the time to join us here as we wait for this news conference to get underway. I wanted to ask you about the reward itself. We talked about this just a bit, maybe 10, 20 minutes ago, but the $100,000 reward, how often does a reward actually result in someone coming forward with information? What sort of incentive does that provide?
Yeah, it's a great incentive, and there are many people who are in need. There are people who perhaps are, hey, I have no skin in the game, and so thereby I see something, but I'm not really going to say something. The money is a good, at least getting them over the hump to say, but you know what, I'll make a call and see if it means anything. So I think the reward money is always good. I don't know what the actual stats are with regards to payouts, but I know in the crimes that I have investigated over the years where we had, for example, in our state, Crime Stoppers, and then of course, if we had needed additional money, we would ask it through our resources through the FBI, and they have been good to us. But at the same time, law enforcement was moving quickly to do their thing, and ultimately it comes down to law enforcement may have made an arrest where an award money was not needed, and in this case, if the stories are true, where it's a family member that turned in the individual, perhaps this person is going to say, I don't want the money. That's not why I did it.
And that's something that we'll definitely wait to kind of see as we wait for this news conference to get underway. Again, we do have several different live vantage points that we are keeping an eye on. The podium is set up and ready to go. And for the most part, I would say, except for the canceled news conference that was set for yesterday afternoon, for the most part, officials have been showing up on time. So it's likely we could actually see this start within the next 10 minutes or so. We're keeping an eye on those vantage points. You can see right there officials checking the microphones and making sure everything is in order and ready to go. I want to see. That person appears to be walking away, so I'm not sure if we are going to get them checking this. Let me lift up the audio just to see if we can hear anything. All right, so they're actually working, it looks like, to fix the audio. Not sure if they are having an issue with essentially what's called a box there that everyone plugs into to get the audio from the microphone. But it appears they are having some audio issues, so that is what they are working to kind of figure out here. One thing that's interesting is Jackie Heinrich over at Fox News, who joins us here on Live Now quite a bit, she did say that sources had provided some information late last night about the potential arrest identity of a suspect. She says they've been working this for hours. So it sounds as though this person could have been identified and arrested hours ago, not just when President Trump came out and said, you know, we have a suspect in custody right now. My question for you, is there a certain amount of time that you want to wait before you release that information to the public and say, this is the suspect, this is who we've taken into custody? Do you do it right away or do you wait?
Yeah, it all depends on what is there in place with regards to how was this person taken into custody, and do we have enough information where we feel comfortable at least one piece of evidence to show that this person is responsible? Because again, we saw at least twice where it was shown that a person is in custody and then released. And so you don't want to keep going down that road. So if law enforcement feels comfortable, this person is interviewing and providing vital information that only the shooter could know, then law enforcement feels, hey, we feel that the community is safe, they can breathe a sigh of relief. But at the same time, if it's early morning and so forth, let time be on our side to continue to gather the evidence we need before that information comes out. So it's all timing as well, Josh. And so after late last night's press conference, if they received that tip either just before or immediately after, then they have the late hours to be able to work, interview, and gather what they need. They might already be having executed a search warrant prior to releasing that information. And ultimately, because of the stature of Charlie Kirk, the involvement of President Trump and the alike of conservative movements in the Republican Party, this goes a little bit different than your typical law enforcement revealing information to the general public.
And of course, you're keeping an eye there on the podium that is over on the left-hand side of your screen as we await this news conference with several agencies. You can see on your screen it says FBI. The special agent in charge has been providing a lot of the information that we've received so far. We've also heard from the Utah Department of Public Safety and other agencies there. It's not quite clear if Governor Spencer Cox is going to be there, but I have to imagine, considering how serious this is and how involved he has been in all of this, he will likely be there. You did mention the fact that there were two other suspects that were essentially taken into custody. They were considered persons of interest, but then investigators came forward and said they are not the suspect. Does that happen fairly often where you have a situation with someone that they believe to be the shooter or the person who perpetrated a crime, and it turns out that's not the person, and we have to go back to maybe square one?
Yeah, I would say it does happen quite a bit, and you just don't have that media oversight. So law enforcement, especially in a very chaotic situation as this, and any type of investigation, even an investigation that can be chaotic but doesn't reach the level of national news, where law enforcement is coming in, law enforcement is trying to grab as much as they can with regards to suspect information, witness information. It's very confusing. So they're going to do, at least if they're reasonably sure that somebody is connected, has something that can be valuable to an investigation, they're going to detain an individual. They perhaps arrest the individual for questioning. But then their investigation, their proper investigation, quickly reveals you're not a part of this investigation, and so thereby release. And things like that happen on a regular basis. You just don't have the media oversight. So in this regard, because of the stature of Charlie Kirk and the way this all went down in a very public format, we just saw your typical law enforcement missteps that don't hurt the investigation as they continue to move on and say, hey, we're still looking for our individual. So we're actually get to see real time just how difficult an investigation like this is, but the investigation moves in the right direction. In the right direction.
And we are expecting this news conference to begin momentarily here. This is actually an image coming in from Fox News. We do have several crews that are out there right now at that news conference. We're going to have several angles. So if for some reason there is that audio issue that we saw earlier, it does look like they fixed it. But if that does happen, we have several different feeds to choose from, and we'll make sure that you get all of the information. We're not sure, once again, exactly who is going to be speaking. However, as we take this full, I do want to go over all of the latest information that we do have here. You can see they are still working to set up the audio, it looks like there on your screen. Again, another angle showing up, but the latest information that we have is that President Donald Trump, speaking live over with Fox News, did confirm that a suspect is in custody in connection here with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, there was video that was released just yesterday, the agency saying that it shows someone jumping from the rooftop of a building after that gunshot is fired. You see them climbing the building as well. Let's lift up the audio here as we're hearing from someone.
Where possibly more information we expect.
Looks like maybe giving them another mic check to make sure that all the audio is okay. It sounds like we can hear them perfectly from what I was just listening to. But we'll keep an eye on when we see folks walk up to the podium. And I'm actually going to keep this up here for just a second. Scott, before I let you go, did want to ask, anything that I'm missing, anything that you want to add here before I let you go?
No, I think the public gets to see just how law enforcement keeps things together. Where you have a major investigation such as this, you have a tremendous amount of interest worldwide, and we are just seeing just every step of the way with regards to, I'll call them missteps, but they are just a normal part of any investigation, where ultimately law enforcement is sifting through tons of information, going through tons of witnesses, many suspects, right? Whether people throw themselves at the feet, they want to be a part of something, and ultimately law enforcement steps back in the quiet and says, "Where's the evidence taking us? That's where we go." So I just think my hats off to all those in Utah, federal, state, and local, who are pulling together to ensure that just within a short period of time, and this is a short period of time, that if the suspect is in custody and it is their man, that they've done their job, and now continues to a prosecution.
Scott Duffy, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and help break it all down. Again, we can see someone at the podium doing that next microphone check here before we possibly get underway. This is slated to begin 9 a.m. Eastern time. That is 7 a.m. local time. That is the time right now. Scott Duffy, thank you again for taking the time to join us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh.
2, check 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right, so again, they're just kind of checking the audio, making sure that it works, because if you were with us maybe 30 minutes ago, the audio was having issues. But again, we got those photos here maybe about 24 hours ago from the FBI, as they did reveal that a person of interest did exist. They found them in the surveillance photos there. They wanted to get those out to the public. Hours later, they released even more of them. Again, if you are just joining us, someone is talking on the screen there, but they're just providing a microphone check. They are not providing any details. Once we see folks with the FBI, Utah Department of Public Safety, any other agency walk up, if we see Governor Cox walk up, he's expected to be there as well. He's been kind of leading the charge. If you noticed last night, during the news conference that we played for you, he was very vocal. He started it off. He has been very involved in the investigation as a whole. Now, again, this morning we did show you some of that video that was released by the FBI late yesterday, hoping that it would maybe provide a little bit of information to folks out there who maybe knew something, could maybe identify this person. And that actually showed the person jumping from a rooftop of a building after the gunshot was fired. Agents saying that around 12 p.m. local time on Wednesday, the gunman was seen climbing up the rooftop. Then, after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, they say the person jumps off and runs away. Investigators do say the shooter left behind the gun and ammo in a wooded area that was near the university. Evidence collected from the rooftop, including shoe impressions, a forearm imprint, and a palm print. Governor Spencer Cox had a strong message for the public last night. He was urging them to help in any way they could to identify that person. We also know that a reward of up to $100,000 was offered by the FBI for the arrest and conviction of Kirk's killer. That was announced about 24 hours after the killing itself happened. And now TMZ obtained some video as well showing that person of interest, they say, both before and after that shooting. So Kirk, if you are not familiar with this, was speaking Wednesday at an event there at Utah Valley University when a single gunshot was fired from a nearby rooftop. He was struck there. The conservative activist who founded Turning Point was rushed over to a hospital, and just hours later, President Trump made the announcement on Truth Social that Kirk had passed away from his injuries. Obviously, a motive right now does remain up in the air, but we heard from Governor Cox, who said this was a targeted attack and it was politically motivated. We also know that Kirk's casket was flown yesterday aboard Air Force Two over to Arizona, where he traveled alongside his family. Not quite clear on funeral arrangements just yet, but according to Trump, this is likely to happen sometime next weekend. That would be about a week from now, so we're going to wait to get those actual arrangements. Not clear if they were waiting for this arrest.
Good morning. We are listening to some footage from Fox Live that is on your screen right now. This morning, President Donald Trump announced that a suspect is in custody in relation to the shooting of Charlie Kirk, with reports indicating that a minister who is also in law enforcement spoke with the suspect's father and convinced his son to turn himself into the police early this morning. We are currently carrying the live update from Utah here shortly. It's supposed to begin in about 3 to 4 minutes. Again, President Trump this morning announced that a suspect is in custody in relation to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Watch with us live.
We also know from the FBI that more than 7,000 leads and tips have poured in, and authorities have yet to publicly name the suspect or cite a motive in the killing, but it is, of course, the latest act of political violence in the U.S. Right now, we're taking a live look at the podium. As any moment now, we do expect that we are going to hear from officials there, the FBI and other folks who essentially are just going to provide some information. We're not quite clear how much information we are going to get, but we're going to keep this up and, of course, let you know as we do get. And if you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, it is now 9:06 on the East Coast and 6:06 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I've been with you for the past several hours to bring you all of your top stories. And over the last hour, we have learned from President Trump that the person suspected of killing, assassinating Charlie Kirk, a conservative activist very well known, is now in custody. That's essentially what he said. With a, quote, high degree of certainty, they now have this suspect in custody. We're taking a look at the podium, essentially just waiting at this point for someone to walk up. We know that the FBI and other folks are going to be involved, including the Utah Department of Public Safety. And I'm looking through some of the mentions here. We do have FBI Director CASHAPP also confirming now officially that a suspect is in custody. Again, the news came just about an hour ago from President Donald Trump as he posted it on Truth Social and his other social media platforms. Want to pop this up on your screen? This is the announcement here as Fox News did post breaking. Trump confirms Charlie Kirk's suspect was turned in by, quote, somebody that was very close to him. There were some rumblings there that it may have been a pastor or someone associated with a church that maybe this person attended. But as of right now, President Trump says it was, quote, somebody that was very close to him, referring, of course, to the suspected killer. And we're looking through a lot of the other posts that are coming in from different officials here. We're going to keep an eye on this screen, but also want to make sure that we are showing you this live look right here. This is of the podium. I do want to keep it there on your screen as any moment now we are likely to get this update. All right, and this is actually coming in from Bill Hemmer over at Fox. He says President Trump says, quote, a minister turned him in with, quote, the help of a father. Again, that's, what we were saying is that it appeared that it was someone with a church, and President Trump now confirming that that is the case, and it was somebody, a minister possibly, turning him in with, quote, the help of a father. That's according to Bill Helmer over at Fox News. As I mentioned, we're essentially looking through a lot of the different reaction that is coming in right now from our friends over at Fox News, as well as our different affiliates as we continue to get more on this. Also, want to mention that Griff Jenkins at Fox is reporting that President Trump said also during his interview that the next city that he's going to deploy the National Guard to crack down on crime is Memphis. So I want to make sure to mention that, as that was also breaking. Jackie Heinrich saying sources tell Fox the suspect was, quote, walked in near St. George, Utah last night after 11 p.m. local time. I mentioned this a bit earlier, but Jackie Heinrich had said that her sources and folks there at Fox News had received information late yesterday, and they were working to confirm it, that this suspect had been taken into custody, or the person of interest as they were being referred to, and it appears that this actually happened several hours before President Trump did his interview with Fox News and made that announcement first, saying, quote, "I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody." We're also likely to get reaction from different lawmakers here who will have a lot to say about this as they wake up this morning and learn the arrest has been made. A lot of lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have been very vocal about this since the get-go. Whether you're talking about Republicans or Democrats, they have all been vocal on social media and made their comments known. Looking right here, it does say from Jackie Heinrich, sources tell Fox the suspect was, quote, walked in near St. George, Utah last night after 11 p.m.
Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
That is away
Check, check, check.
right here. It looks like
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
And if
6,
you're from that
7,
area, you may have the
8,
answer as well.
9,
But it
10.
looks like it's about 260, 270 miles away from Orem, where Utah Valley University is located. That's about a 3.5-hour drive. Again, Orem is where Utah Valley University is. That is where the assassination happened. And according to Jackie Heinrich, it appears that the suspect was taken into custody there in St. George, about 260, 270 miles away from the scene of the crime. Not sure how they were able to get there. Again, a lot still unknown, and it's likely that we will get at least some of those answers as we see folks step up to the podium. Senator Rick Scott of Florida writing, "I'm still in shock and devastated that Charlie Kirk is no longer with us. I can't even imagine how his wife, kids, and family feel. Charlie was a man of faith, and he believed in the power of prayer. Today I'm asking every American to pray for his family. Let us gather together in church and in our communities. Our nation needs God, and his family needs comfort only our Heavenly Father can give." This news conference was slated to start around 9 a.m. Eastern Time. That is 7 o'clock local time right now, though. We are still waiting on that to begin. It is 9:11 right after the hour here, as we do essentially just wait for the FBI or Utah Department of Public Safety to walk up to the podium here. Let's lift up the audio and listen. Test. The good news there is that the audio issue that we heard maybe 30 minutes ago has now been fixed. That is not going to be a problem. You'll be able to hear all of this in full as it does start here in a matter of moments. We have not been given any kind of updated time or anything of that nature. Sometimes they'll let us know if they're running a little bit late, but as of right now, still slated to have started at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. local time there in Orem, Utah. And if you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, thank you so much for being with us here on this Friday, September 12th. My name is Josh Breslow, and I've been here for the past several hours as we've taken a look at all of your top stories, breaking news alerts, and over the last hour we have been with this information as we have learned from President Trump that a suspect has been taken into custody in connection with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which happened Wednesday as he was speaking to a very large crowd at a university there, Utah Valley University. Matt Finn at Fox News posting sources tell Fox that Charlie Kirk assassin was taken into custody in southern Utah. They said that they are on the ground and they are on the way. I mentioned this, but it's about a 3.5-hour drive to get to that location where the arrest happened. It's likely we will get more information, and there could potentially be some photos of that arrest. We're not quite clear what we're going to get from investigators when they do walk up to the podium here in just a matter of moments. We also know that we are awaiting funeral arrangements for Charlie Kirk. A lot of people have messaged us and asked when he will be laid to rest. And at this point, we do not have an answer other than that President Trump says he expects that it could be sometime next weekend. Again, nothing confirmed just yet. We will keep in touch with everyone involved involved, and we'll let you know as we do get any of those details coming in. It could be a few hours, it could be a few days before we get answers. All right, still awaiting this news conference to begin. 9:14 on the East Coast, 6:14 on the West Coast. We are not going to go to any commercial breaks. We are throwing those out because the second that we see folks start to walk up, we want to make sure that we bring that to you in full, commercial free, and that we have the entire thing here on live now as it does start. And as I mentioned, I'm getting quiet at times because I'm taking a look at some of the posts coming in from different lawmakers and other Trump administration officials just to see exactly what they have to say about this. We also mentioned, while we're on the topic of President Trump's interview, we did mention here that he has said that he is going to send the National Guard over to Memphis. That is his next stop to help combat crime. And Representative there, David Kustoff, actually said, I support President Trump's decision to send the National Guard to Memphis. I thank the President for his commitment to curb violent crime. It's important for the long-term success in Memphis to have additional and permanent federal law enforcement officers and agents who can work in conjunction with state and local officials. I will continue to work with the White House to secure these important resources. Someone there taking notes there in the distance. Not sure if that was a reporter or somebody with the actual law enforcement agency. You can see possibly, I'm looking at the uniform there, it might be a sheriff's office employee there on the left-hand side. Not sure if we've seen anyone else walk up just yet to enter the room. We are still waiting on Governor Spencer Cox. He's likely to make comments, it appears. Also the Utah Department of Public Safety, several other officials, the FBI, not quite clear. Even though Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, is he's been involved, and he's announcing here that the arrest happened as well. He might not be here, he might not speak. He was at last night's news conference and was involved in looking for different evidence at the scene. However, we did not hear any specific comments from him last night. However, he could be there, as we might once again hear from the FBI special agent in charge. And I will keep this image up on your screen right now because we want to make sure the second we see folks walk in that we're able to bring that to you in full, commercial free. Not going to step away for a break at all because this is obviously a very important story. We are just under 48 hours after Charlie Kirk, conservative activist, was attacked and assassinated there as he was speaking in front of hundreds, maybe thousands of people there at Utah Valley University. If you've seen the videos of the crowds, you know there were a lot of people around him. Now, investigators do believe that he was targeted and that this was politically motivated. That's according to Governor Cox, who made that statement as he was speaking just the other night. He actually made that comment just hours after the attack happened, after President Trump had announced that Charlie Kirk had died from his injuries. Now, the president also confirming that he is going to posthumously award Charlie Kirk a Presidential Medal of Freedom. Not clear if there will be any sort of award ceremony or anything of that nature, but if we do get one, we're going to make sure to bring that to you, as we always do here on Live Now for Fox. And try to see if that's a reporter or if maybe that is somebody with the investigation team, one of the law enforcement agencies involved. Yeah, so everything's still being set up at this point. The start time was originally set for 9 a.m. Eastern time, but so far we are about 19 minutes away. Let's see what they're saying. All right, I do actually believe that that's a reporter who is sharing some information with her station right there. That is not one of the officials with law enforcement. Here we go. President Trump saying that a suspect was arrested in connection with this crime. We're keeping an eye on all of these developments and waiting on this news conference to get underway with the FBI, Utah Department of Public Safety, and other officials. And if you are just joining us here at 9:19 on the East Coast and 6:19 on the West Coast, we're waiting basically an update after learning from President Donald Trump that a suspect has been taken into custody in connection with the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk that was witnessed by hundreds, likely thousands of people there at that event on the Utah Valley University campus. And I also mentioned that we're not going to miss any of this because we do have several different angles that are coming in from many different cameras. So if there is any sort of technical issue, audio issue, don't worry. We have backup feeds and we'll make sure we bring all of that to you in full and live as it does happen. Live, raw, and uninterrupted. That's what we do here on Live Now from Fox. And if you are just joining us, I do want to point this out once again that we are hearing from Matt Finn over at Fox News that sources tell Fox here that the Charlie Kirk assassin was taken into custody in southern Utah. He says we are on the way, on the ground, and we'll get more information there. Obviously, this news conference should be starting in a matter of moments. Now, Fox 5 DC, they're our affiliate there over in Washington, posting these photos along with an update saying new details. The suspect's father may have played a role in turning him in. That is, of course, according to President Trump, who did release that information during an interview with Fox News a short time ago. That was maybe about an hour ago, which is when we learned of this arrest. And we've been staying on commercial free. We have breaking news like this. We want to make sure you don't miss anything. So we are on some of these live images. Jackie Heinrich at Fox saying sources tell Fox the suspect was, quote, walked in near St. George, Utah last night after 11 p.m. That would be local time, so likely 1 a.m. Eastern time. Walked in, makes it sound as though someone went with him, brought him to turn himself in. Obviously, that's not clear just yet, but that is the understanding. St. George, Utah is about 260, 270 miles away from the crime scene there in Warren, Utah, the school. The Associated Press saying breaking. Trump says, quote, with a high degree of certainty that suspect in Charlie Kirk killing has been caught. They are pretty sure this is the person responsible. We know that on the day of the attack, 2 people were taken into custody, but we did later learn that they were released because officials were able to confirm that they were not the shooter or a suspect in any way. So they were detained shortly and then released after some questioning. We also know that somebody was arrested at the scene of the crime yesterday, not technically connected to the shooting itself, but they were arrested, according to investigators, for actually walking into the crime scene. The crime scene is, at last check, still taped off there over at Utah Valley University. They want people to stay away as they work to comb through and find evidence. Now, it appears, though, that they do have this person of interest or suspect that is in custody here. So that is the announcement that we expect to get in a matter of moments here, coming in from the officials with the FBI and Utah Department of Public Safety, possibly their Governor Spencer Cox, who has been very involved in all of this. And according to the Associated Press, they are now reporting that the suspect in custody in connection with the Charlie Kirk shooting is a 22-year-old from Utah. That is according to the Associated Press. Usually what we see in these situations is as we get closer to a news conference starting, some of the information comes in from various sources like the Associated Press, Reuters, Fox News. All of them start to get information from the folks that they know of in that location. And that's what appears to have happened, as the Associated Press is saying that a suspect is in custody, and that person is a 22-year-old from Utah. The Associated Press just putting that out moments ago. And as I mentioned, I'm getting quiet for periods of time here because myself, my producers, other DJs here are looking up all the information as it's coming in real time. We're making sure you get it the second that we get it. That's what we always do on Live Now from Fox. And this post coming in from Bill Helmer over at Fox, saying that President Trump says, quote, a minister turned him in with, quote, the help of a father. It's likely during this news conference we will find out not just the identity of the person who has been arrested, but also more about how they were turned in and how they were discovered. We also know that a $100,000 reward had been issued in connection with this. So at this point, it's not clear if someone saw that reward and wanted to turn them in, or if there's more to it. They saw that photo circulating and said, I know exactly who that person is. And we may actually have the suspect's name at this point. All right, so right now, the Associated Press, as I mentioned, they're getting a little bit more information kind of piece by piece, but they say the suspect in custody in connection with the assassination of Charlie Kirk is a 22-year-old from Utah. The Associated Press saying that they have the suspect identified here as Tyler Robinson. Again, that is coming in from the Associated Press. It's likely we'll get that information from authorities here once they hold this news conference in a matter of moments. But yeah, the Associated Press posting here, breaking suspect in custody in connection with Charlie Kirk's shooting is a 22-year-old from Utah. That's according to the Associated Press. They just posted that a short time ago. And taking you back to this live look that we have over the podium, we're just about half an hour after the news conference was slated to begin. It's important, though, to note at this point that we are essentially up in the air about timing, because this was called at the last minute after President Trump had made that announcement about an arrest being made. This news conference was kind of thrown together, so it's not really a surprise that it's starting a little bit later than the slotted time. And you can hear my producers there, as well as other DJs working in the background. They are gathering all of the information as it's coming in. So we definitely appreciate that. One of our shots looks like... All right, so we have this look at the podium. It's a bit of a wider shot, but we also have this one where it looks like that reporter has been providing those live updates to her crew back at whatever station she is with there, likely over in Salt Lake City, Utah. Basically, folks, not just in that area, but from across the country, have been covering this from the get-go as everything played out. She's not sure if she's sitting down because she saw someone, she just looked over there. I wish we could get a shot of the door, because then we'd be able to tell you when somebody's walking up, but as of right now, we do not have that image. We just kind of have the podium from different angles, like this one right here, and...
will be about some of the detail reporting that hasn't been confirmed by authorities.
And that one right there. And if you are just joining us again, the Associated Press releasing some more information here, saying the suspect in custody in connection with the assassination of Charlie Kirk is a 22-year-old from Utah, identifying that suspect as Tyler Robinson. We don't know anything really else about this person, but it's likely authorities will go into further detail here as the information does kind of progress and it's made public. Not sure what we can expect during this news conference last night. They did not take questions. We heard from Governor Cox there, and then the Utah Department of Public Safety made some statements, but at this point, not quite clear if that's what we're getting here or if they will actually take questions. You can't really see it, but there are a lot of different media members that are waiting for this to get underway. President Trump saying during that interview this morning with Fox News Channel, quote, "With a high degree of certainty we have him." He said that a minister also involved with law enforcement turned the suspect into authorities. He said, quote, "Somebody that was very close to him said, that's him." That's a direct quote coming from President Trump. And we're actually working to get that audio for you. All right, as we continue to take a look right. As you can see right here, we do have a live look over at the podium. You can see it's kind of empty right now as we are awaiting the arrival of the Utah Department of Public Safety, the FBI, possibly Governor Cox could be involved as well. He spoke last night. The second we see somebody walk up, we are going to make sure to bring that to you in full here on Live Now from Fox, but we are still waiting on that news conference after learning from President Donald Trump that a suspect is in custody. Right now, I do want to bring in Skylar Baird. He witnessed the actual situation. He was there as all of this happened. And Skylar, I can't even begin to imagine what you witnessed. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Definitely most traumatic day of my life.
Can you start by walking me through what you witnessed there, what you saw, what you heard? Just walk me through it.
Yeah, I'll start by the positive, which was Charlie coming up and being really happy with the crowd, rallying everyone up. Everyone was chanting and excited for him to be there. He was tossing out hats and it was clear that he was proud of this movement that he had started and proud to be in Utah. Then the event went on, first question went through, and as the second question came up, the question was on transgender mass shooters, and the question asked Charlie was, how many transgender mass shooters have there been in the last 10 years? And Charlie's response was too many. That's what he said, too many. And the person that asked the question said, yeah, that's true, I'll give you that. It's been five transgender mass shootings. And then the follow-up question was, how many mass shooters have there been in the last 10 years? And then as Charlie went to respond and say, are you including gang violence? As soon as the word violence came out of his mouth, that's when it shot. rang out, and immediately I knew it was a gunshot. I knew the sound of it, and an image that I went to therapy yesterday to try to get out of my mind, and the first thing I saw when I woke up. Therapy is important. Anyone who's at that event should go see a therapist. Had I not gone yesterday, that image would continue to replay in my mind. And I was given some tools to combat that. As I had a little bit of a vision as I was meditating on this subject. And in this vision, I photoshopped in my mind. I photoshopped the blood away. I photoshopped Charlie, sat him back up, put his smile back on, and rewound the tape in my mind. I rewound the bullet going back up into the rifle. I was being transported up into this, where the rifle was, and I stuck a flower inside the rifle. I rewound the tape more in my mind's eye, and the shooter, he goes down the stairs. I'm rewinding him, I'm pushing him back in time. And as I press play, the shooter goes up halfway. He stops on the landing and turns around. He doesn't go through with it. He goes back to his car and into the light. And a few people mourn. A few people mourn the shooter, his parents, his sisters, a few close friends. But nobody really cares. Nobody understands, and the event goes on like normal. And for me, I think that was the message that God wanted me to hear, to feel, is that there's a lot of people that are hurting, a lot of people that don't feel seen, a lot of people that don't feel heard. And the only thing they have is their ideology or their identity. And so when that's attacked, they feel like it's an attack on them. And what we need to do is to assist those individuals in knowing that love is real, that God is real, and that they can feel love again.
At this point, you mentioned that you've had therapy, you've had a little time to process this. What message do you hope that people watching this and hearing your story, a very emotional one there, are going to take away?
The only thing that is important at this moment is if you feel hatred in your heart, if this moment made you happy in any way, then there's a cancer in your soul. You have succumbed to a great evil. If celebrating the loss of a husband and father of two little children has made you happy, then you need to seek help. You are broken. You need to find God, and you need to find love in your heart again, because the only way that any of this stops is to find love and to love others around you. And it doesn't mean validating everything that's going on in their mind. That's not what love is. Love is getting help. Love is getting true help that can solve your deep-rooted issues that would cause you to find joy in the death of another.
Skylar, we definitely appreciate you joining us and sharing your story here and your experience. My last question for you here, how do you want to make sure that Charlie Kirk is remembered? I know you were talking about the excitement there and focusing on the positive. So how do you want to make sure that he's remembered?
The thing about evil is it doesn't understand the human heart. Evil thinks that killing Charlie silenced him. But the thing about the human heart is, in trying to silence Charlie, you just created a million more. a million more people are going to rise up and share the same message of hope and divinity and of God. And they're going to stand up. They're going to stand up in the face of evil. People have been quiet for too long. People allowed, they allowed the cancellations. They allowed the pushback. They allowed people, to be fired because you have conservative ideals. And it's not going to happen anymore. Conservatives are going to stand up in a righteous way and continue to be loud and be vocal and to change the world for a better place.
Skylar, thank you so much for joining us here and sharing your story. We definitely appreciate it. I can tell, of course, it is emotional for you. Is there anything else that you want to make sure to add here before I let you go?
Yeah, the last thing that comes to my mind is the thousands of people that were in attendance, the millions of people that saw the direct footage around the world, around the globe. And again, those images don't go away. And so don't allow them to stay with you. Don't allow them to infiltrate your mind and to be heavy on you. Go see help, talk to people. They're not going to go away by yourself. You need to go to therapy. You need to go be with your loved ones, because nothing's helped me more than receiving hugs from strangers, receiving messages from strangers, receiving people coming to my door and offering me a priesthood blessing, and knowing that there's so many people around me has helped tremendously. And there's people right now that are alone, that are struggling with those thoughts and those images. And you need to reach out and find those people around you too.
Skylar, our thoughts or prayers are with you as well. I know, obviously, I can't even begin to imagine what you've been through. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your perspective here and share your story with so many people and talking about Charlie Kirk. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh.
And I do want to take you out once again to this live look over the podium as we are waiting for this press conference to start. Now, it is going to be with the FBI, Utah Department of Public Safety. It's not quite clear yet if we should expect Governor Spencer Cox there to be there. He has been at these news conferences. He took charge just yesterday. He's been very involved in all of this, and it's not quite clear if he's going to speak here as well. Now, we have not received any guidance on the timing. We know that we were told from officials that the news conference was set to start at 9 a.m. Eastern time, but they are still working to piece all of this together after the arrest of this suspect. President Trump first making that announcement as he was speaking on Fox News just about maybe 2 hours ago, saying that they did have a suspect in custody and that that suspect was turned in by somebody very close to them. Let's pop this up on your screen right here as we are waiting. Reuters posting as well that the suspect in the Charlie Kirk assassination is Tyler Robinson. That's according again to two sources who spoke there with Reuters, and they are familiar with the investigation. So again, Tyler Robinson is the person who Reuters and AP are reporting as being the suspect in this shooting. Now, last check, according to Jackie Heinrich over at Fox News, the suspect is believed to be 22 years old. And that lines up with what investigators said yesterday, as they did say that it appeared that this suspect was of college age, so 22 matches with that. Now, the Associated Press saying the suspect in custody in connection with the Charlie Kirk shooting, 22-year-old from Utah. That's also via sources, but at this point we are likely to get much more information from authorities as they provide this update in just a matter of moments. Again, we're running about 42 minutes late, but obviously all of this is developing, so they're probably working together to piece together everything, figure out who's going to say what, who's going to speak, in what order, kind of sorting out all of those details. I know that last night we saw Kash Patel, the head of the FBI. He was there at the actual news conference. He didn't speak, but he was there. He was on scene yesterday. It's not clear if he is still in that location and if maybe he'll take part in this news conference today. And if you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, my name is Josh Breslow, and I've been with you for the past several hours to bring you all of your updates on this big story that we are following. And right now I can tell you that authorities say they have arrested a suspect in connection with the murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The 31-year-old shot and killed Wednesday while speaking to a very large crowd, estimated to be about 3,000 people, and that was over at Utah Valley University. President Trump does say the suspect's father may have played a role in turning him in. Again, all of this information likely to be discussed here shortly as we get this news conference beginning. Trump's direct quote here is, quote, "I think with a high degree of certainty we have him in custody, right in custody. Everybody did a great job. I just heard about it 5 minutes before I walked in. As I'm walking in, they said, looking real good. They have the person they wanted." So he made the announcement as breaking news about 5 minutes after finding this out. He made the announcement on Fox News during an interview. Sources telling the Associated Press that the suspect, identified as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson from Utah. We also know that Reuters is making the same report here via sources. According to Fox News reporter Matt Finn, the suspect taken into custody there over in southern Utah a day after the FBI released the photos of a person of interest. Fox News senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich said sources told her that the suspect was, quote, walked in near St. George, Utah after 11 p.m. local time, so that would be about 1 a.m. Eastern time. This happening several hours before it appears President Trump was alerted that they had made the arrest, but after the two previous detainments that had been made where it turned out not to be the shooter, they wanted to be a little bit more sure before they released that information. Now, authorities have not officially released the name of the suspect, any details about the arrest. What we're learning is coming from those sources via the Associated Press, Fox News, and Reuters. But this news conference should provide maybe some clarity. One thing that's also not clear is whether or not we can expect a Q&A, questions to be asked and answered, as reporters are there in large numbers. We're not just talking about local media that is there in that room. We're also talking about national media from Fox News, other folks, also those stations, including Fox, in Salt Lake City. Now, Kirk, a 31-year-old conservative activist and friend of President Trump, was speaking to a crowd of about 3,000 people there at Utah Valley University Wednesday afternoon when a shooter fired a single shot from a building about 140 yards away. Kirk is the founder of Turning Point USA, and he was on the first stop of his American comeback tour. Let's listen in. I'm not sure if they're doing a mic check, but let's pop up the audio and try to listen in. And I mentioned that we were awaiting that soundbite there from President Trump as he did appear on Fox News making that announcement this morning. Really quick, I do want to play that for you here as it is just coming into our newsroom.
Yeah, can I always say, I think, just to protect us all, and so Fox doesn't get sued, and we all don't get sued, and everything else, but I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him. We're in custody, okay? In custody, everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor, everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But yeah, I think we're in great shape. He's in custody.
All right, again, making that announcement there on Fox News just about, I would say, less than 2 hours ago. saying that he was alerted about 5 minutes before he walked in to do that interview that the arrest had been made. We're also learning more about the suspect himself via the Associated Press and Reuters, saying that he is 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. No other information has been released about the person, but that does match up with what we were told by investigators there, that it appeared that the suspect was, quote, college-aged, and now we know 22 years old, according to Fox News, the Associated Press, and Reuters. But we will get all of those details very likely from investigators as they speak during this news conference. Again, we are popping this up on your screen to give you a look at all of this. We have not received an update on the timing. Once again, we are told that this should be happening soon because it was slated to start at about 9 a.m. Eastern time. However, at this point, it has not started, and we are at 9:49 on the East Coast and 6:49 on the West Coast. We know that all the reporters are inside. They have their notebooks and computers ready to go. They're essentially taking notes, just waiting for this to get underway. And at first, there was a little bit of an audio issue, but it looks like they were able to fix it pretty quickly. That's why you see folks walking up occasionally to make sure, and they're doing those microphone checks just to kind of check on the audio. But it's several different people that have been walking up. That's why I've been dipping up the audio just to make sure it's still working, but also seeing if maybe somebody is giving an update on the timing. As of right now, as I mentioned, we have not received any update on timing from Fox News or any of our friends over at what we call News Edge. We're waiting to see if they do have an update from anyone in the room. But as of right now, that is not the case. The Charlie Kirk shooting suspect here arrested, according to President Trump, who made the announcement less than 2 hours ago, and the Associated Press and Reuters referring to that person as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, saying that he is from Utah. No other details have been released just yet. But we do know also that the arrest took place over in southern Utah, according to Matt Finn at Fox News. It was about 270 miles away from Orem, Utah, where the school is located, where all of this unfolded there at Utah Valley University. And the reason I'm keeping this up is because we know at some point they are going to walk up, and we want to make sure that we have that for you in full as it does start. This all coming a day after we saw those surveillance photos that were released. You heard President Trump talking about it. He mentioned that one of the videos, it looked like an ant, so you couldn't make much out of it because it was from so far away. But the reason for releasing that video, according to the FBI, was to make sure that folks could see how it played out. You saw a person climb the building. They were there on the rooftop where, according to investigators, they fired that single shot targeting Charlie Kirk and shot him after he had just answered a question. So he was speaking with members of the crowd. They were invited over there to stump him. It's part of something that he does. He answered a question. There was the gunshot. He was struck in the neck. He was rushed over to a hospital. And then a short time later, we did hear from President Trump announcing on Truth Social that, that Charlie Kirk had passed away. He is a close friend of President Trump. The president also announcing, as he was speaking during a 9/11 ceremony yesterday, marking 24 years since the 9/11 attacks. He was at the Pentagon, and he announced that he will posthumously award Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Not sure if there will be a ceremony there, but if there is, we're going to make sure to bring that to you in full as we get it. And, of course, more information about all of that. Now, Bill Hemmer over at Fox News saying that President Trump says, quote, a minister turned him in with, quote, the help of a father. That is kind of the limited information that we do have at this point. But you can see we're still awaiting this news conference to get underway. We do have several experts that are lined up to speak with us in the next little bit if the news conference does not start. Again, this was set for 9 a.m. Eastern time. We were approaching the top of the hour here at 10 a.m. Eastern time as we await the FBI, Utah Department of Public Safety, likely making their final preparations before they walk out here. One question that I've mentioned is it's not clear if they're going to take questions. Let's lift up the audio.
Hello, hello, testing, testing. Hi, everyone. We are 4 minutes out from starting the press conference. Thank you.
All right, so there you go. We do have 4 minutes left until this press conference gets underway. Again, not quite clear who's going to talk, but it appears there will be folks with the Utah Department of Public Safety, the FBI, as well as possibly Governor Spencer Cox, who has spoken at the previous news conferences. He has taken charge and taken a big part in the investigation. Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, was there last night. He attended the news conference. However, he did not speak there. It's not clear if now that an arrest has been made, he might do that. But if you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, I do want to remind you that according to the Associated Press, Reuters, and Fox News, the suspect has been identified as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson from Utah. Not clear where in Utah he is from. But again, this is the limited information that we have from law enforcement sources, and it's all the information that we expect we could get today, along with maybe how they were able to track him down, though it does appear that a minister was involved. That is according to President Trump. He said, quote, someone very close to that suspect helped nab him, essentially. We also don't know where the suspect is right now. We may get an update on that, their location, where they're going to be held, the charges they face, all of that. But these are all questions that we've had now for quite a while. I would say less than 48 hours ago, this all played out. There were 2 detainments that were made the day of the attack, but after some questioning, investigators determined that those were not the shooters. They were not involved in the shooting. There was also an arrest that took place at the crime scene just yesterday, but that was not technically related. It was essentially a person who crossed the crime scene tape when they knew they were not supposed to. As you can see, the camera is kind of wobbling around. This is likely to get underway shortly because we were told 4 minutes, and that was maybe just about 2 minutes ago. I believe that person is a spokesperson for one of the agencies involved who gave us that heads up there, saying that this would begin here shortly in about 4 minutes. And right now we're about 2, maybe 3 minutes into that. If you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, the time is 9:55 on the East Coast and 6:55 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I've been here for the past several hours to bring you all of your top stories, live events, and breaking news. And there has been a lot of it over the last couple hours here as we learn from President Trump that an arrest has been made, a suspect taken into custody in connection with the assassination of conservative activist there, Charlie Kirk, very well known as he was speaking at an event with about 3,000 people in attendance. Right now, we are keeping an eye on the podium as we have been. We're told this should begin momentarily as we hear from all of the agencies involved. Again, it's not clear if they are going to take questions from media members or if, like last night, they just are going to make a couple statements and then leave. Many of these news conferences have only been about 10 minutes in length, but this one, now that an arrest has been made, there are a lot of questions, and they may be able to answer more of those. We also have this post coming in right here from David Spunt over at Fox News. It's also from Jackie Heinrich, another reporter there, who says that David Spunt confirmed the suspect name is Tyler Robinson, 22 years old and from Utah, according to the Associated Press and Reuters. At this point, nothing else really known about this suspect just yet. That is all the information we have. The Associated Press once again saying the suspect in custody in connection with the Charlie Kirk shooting is a 22-year-old from Utah. Likely we're going to get all of these details here in just a matter of moments, so we're keeping an eye on the podium, and the second we see somebody walk up, we will take that and bring it to you in full. If you've been watching over the last hour or so, you know that we have tossed out all of our commercial breaks. We are not going to interrupt this at all. We're going to stick with it all throughout the press conference, whether it's 5 minutes or 55 minutes. We're going to be with it the entire time. You won't miss any of it here. We also have several different feeds. As you know, sometimes the feeds can go out. There can be audio issues, but don't worry because we have so many different angles and so many different feeds. So if one does happen to go out, we have several others that we can bring you as well. We are now at 9:58 on the East Coast, and that is about the 4-minute mark of when this news conference should start. Looks like maybe they're waiting till about 10 o'clock, but If you are just joining us here, I do want to make sure you have the latest. As President Trump says, an arrest has been made in connection with the murder, the assassination of his friend, conservative activist Charlie Kirk, who died Wednesday there as he was speaking at an event at Utah Valley University. Fox News posting Charlie Kirk assassination suspect named as Tyler Robinson. David Spunt over at Fox News speaking with a lot of the folks there to help break all of that down and learn a little bit more information. Looks like the cameras that we have, several of them are actually zooming out. So what I'm going to do is maybe lift up the audio here as we expect this to get underway. And as I mentioned, I don't want you to miss any of it as we hear from the FBI, the Utah Department of Public Safety, possibly Governor Cox, as we have over the past several days. This is running about an hour late, but it looks like they might just be waiting till the top of the hour, which would be 10 a.m. on the East Coast, but it would be 8 o'clock a.m. over there locally in Utah. And it also looks like the White House is putting out some information here as well. They did put out a quote from President Trump, as he mentioned earlier. Quote, "We lost an unbelievable warrior." That is what he had to say about Charlie Kirk. He has also announced that he is going to posthumously award him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That will be awarded to him in the future. We do not have any information just yet on whether or not that could be a full ceremony. It could be. We could see his family arrive there, all of that, and speak and honor his memory. If that is the case, you'll be sure to watch it here on Live Now from Fox as we bring it to you full and commercial free. And keeping an eye on the podium there over in Utah, as this news conference should be starting shortly, 10 a.m. on the East Coast and 7 a.m. on the West Coast. It did appear that they were waiting until the top of the hour for everyone to come out. At this point, that has not happened just yet, but we are moments away, we're told. There was a spokesperson who walked up maybe 6-8 minutes ago and said that we were 4 minutes away from this getting underway. And we do have this and several other angles you can see right here on your screen, as this one's a little bit farther out, but not quite sure if it's on the same timeline or if maybe one of them's on a delay. However, we're going to take this image right here because it is closer to the podium and you can see a little bit more. As we saw one of the cameras pan over to the left, we can see some of the folks that are with law enforcement. They are standing and essentially just waiting to walk up. That is the spokesperson there who we heard from earlier, who just walked by on the screen, walking over to the right and sitting down to indicate there that this is likely to begin here shortly. There she is, walking back over to the left. And I am repeating myself quite a bit here as we wait for this news conference to get underway. I just want to make sure if you're just turning this on, because we can see our viewer count there on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. And as the number goes up, we know that people are tuning in. We want to make sure they know that President Trump and now the FBI Director, CASHAPP, have announced that an arrest has been made in connection with the assassination, the murder there of Charlie Kirk, a very well-known conservative activist. This all happening just under 48 hours ago. This was around 12 o'clock-ish local time over on Wednesday at Utah Valley University, as we know that Charlie Kirk was speaking to that crowd, estimated to be about 3,000 people. As of right now, the Associated Press, Reuters, Fox News are all reporting via sources that the suspect has been identified as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. No other details released, and that's likely one of the pieces of information we're going to get here from authorities as they take the podium. Again, the Utah Department of Public Safety, the FBI, Kash Patel could be there like he was last night. We could get comments from him. We already heard from President Trump a bit earlier as he was speaking to Fox News. We played that for you here as he did make the announcement saying that he was alerted that an arrest had been made about 5 minutes before he went on set for that pre-planned interview. We had heard about that for a while. Here we go. Let's lift up the audio.
At today's press conference, we will hear from Governor Cox, FBI Director
Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Patel, and Sheriff Mike Smith. At today's press conference, we will hear from Governor Cox, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Sheriff Mike Smith. We also have with us Utah DPS Commissioner Bo Mason, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, FBI Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles, and local and federal law enforcement partners. Following the remarks today, Governor Cox, Director Patel, and Commissioner Mason will take questions. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits. I know there's been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings, those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well. And I'll share that with you now. So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital O-W-O, what's this, question mark." Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point." Up arrow symbol, right arrow, and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." We are indebted to law enforcement across the state who's worked seamlessly together, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and our federal partners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're grateful for everyone who worked together in such a short amount of time to find this person and to bring justice. I want to thank the public who has been so engaged, reviewing videos, helping us with sending in tips, and helping us get to this point. I want to thank the family members of Tyler Robinson who did the right thing in this case and were able to bring him into to law enforcement as well. I especially want to thank the family of Charlie Kirk, Erica, Charlie's parents, his children. I want us to be thinking of them as we bring justice in this case. They will be involved in that justice. We will be working very closely with them as we move through this process as well. This is a very sad day for our country, a terrible day for the state of Utah, but I'm grateful that at this moment we have an opportunity to bring closure to this very dark chapter in our nation's history. With that, I'll now turn the microphone over to the Director of the FBI, CASHAPP.
Thank you, Governor. This is what happens when you let good cops be cops. The FBI and our partners are proud to stand here today together to bring justice to the family of Charlie Kirk and honor his memory. I want to express my deep gratitude to President Trump, the Vice President, and the entire White House who have been so incredibly supportive with both resources and just personally to the FBI as a team. They had our backs the entire way, and I just want to express my gratitude for giving us the resources we need to operate in this space to bring this sort of justice at this sort of speed. In 33 hours, we have made historic progress for Charlie. Governor Cox, our partnership has been absolutely incredible these last few days. Our partnership will endure. Your state and local partners, your sheriffs, your DPS community has been unbelievably impressive in the hardest of times. And a case like this cannot be solved, cannot be brought without partnering with your state and local authorities. The FBI has a certain role to play. We will play that role, and we will lead after the federal government. Governor Cox, we are so grateful for your state partnership that led out on this investigation. A little bit of the timeline. Charlie was shot at 12:23 p.m. on Wednesday. The first FBI agents arrived on scene in 16 minutes with chiefs of police at 12:39 and secured the scene. The FBI immediately launched fixed-wing assets. We utilized these assets to transport personnel, specialty technicians, hostage rescue teams. We also utilized these assets to go back and forth from the East Coast and here in Utah to transport forensic evidence and other evidence that will be analyzed and is being analyzed at our FBI laboratories in Quantico and other laboratories, including the ATF. At my direction, the FBI released the first set of FBI photos of the suspect at 10 a.m. local time on 9/11. Then, shortly thereafter, the FBI reward of $100,000 was released at 10:45 a.m. local. Myself and Deputy Director Bongino arrived on the scene at approximately 5:30 p.m. on 9/11. The governor led a press conference last night at approximately 8 p.m. where at my direction, the FBI released a never-before-seen video of the suspect. We also released new images to the public of the suspect. And just last night, the suspect was taken into custody at 10 p.m. local time. In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with the partners here in the state of Utah and Governor Cox, the suspect was apprehended in a historic time period. And I want to highlight what Governor Cox said. This would not have been possible without you, the media, and you, the public. That's why we went so public, so fast, and we're so transparent, and we're committed to that transparency. The crime scene, just a little bit there. It is a large crime scene. State and local authorities, along with federal authorities, processed that crime scene quickly. And I even had the ability to walk through that crime scene and walk through the steps the suspect took to learn more about what was needed and what resources we needed to bear to create a full picture for the FBI and leadership back in Washington. Furthermore, thankfully to state and local partners, forensic evidence has been seized and continues to be garnered. Forensic evidence has already been evaluated at FBI laboratories in Quantico and state and local authorities here. We will continue to process evidence as we see it, as we collect it, and we will continue to deliver to Governor Cox and his team. Last night, we had a total of approximately 7,000 leads. As of this morning, thanks to your great work, we have over 11,000 leads that were called in to the FBI. And we are running out every single lead that we can. Every one of those leads will be run out. The arrest is a testament to the dedication of good law enforcement being great, and partnerships in law enforcement, which I've tried to highlight as my tenure as the director of the FBI. There is no better relationship for law enforcement than the FBI to partner with state and local authorities, and you've seen it here in these last few days. The FBI Salt Lake field office, along with our offices in LA, Phoenix, Denver, San Antonio, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, our headquarters component in Quantico, all participate in the FBI. I want to express my deep gratitude to the employees of the FBI, the men and women, the evidence response team tacticians, the special operators, the agents, the support staff. You have done monumental work in historic time when the public, who had a right to demand such an expeditious solving of an investigation, the FBI answered that call diligently, critically important to our nation, and we delivered. And I'm proud to be their leader, and I'm proud to be the director of the FBI. This is very much an ongoing investigation, as the governor said, and we will continue to work with state and local authorities to develop the investigation, to provide them the evidence they need for their ongoing prosecutions, and we will be here to answer every call they absolutely have, as long as it takes, for as long as we need to find and apprehend whatever suspects were involved in this crime. Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Thank you, and good morning. I would just like to take a few minutes as the sheriff to express my gratitude for everybody who has played a part in this investigation. As you know, it's been a vast, a complicated, and a very, very fast-paced investigation. You're looking at people standing up here who are running on, if they got an hour's sleep in the last couple of days, they're probably lucky. It has been very taxing. It has been so impressive speaking on behalf of the local law enforcement to see the cooperation that we've seen in this type of case. Across the state, sheriffs, chiefs, our state partners have stepped up and have come to the call on anything that we needed. Our county chiefs have been phenomenal. Our Utah County Attorney, Jeff Gray, who's standing up here with us, has been phenomenal in leading us through this investigation. I would like to thank the federal government for their resources, their assets. Our local team here, our FBI team, has been extraordinary in helping us work through this and bring this person to justice. Most of all,
I would like to thank the public, and specifically, I would like to thank the public who turned to prayers and who turned to positiveness for us. I would like to thank them on behalf of the law enforcement community because we needed those prayers. That's what we needed to get through this. We needed your support, and you gave it to us. We needed your patience, and you gave it to us. And I would like to thank you for the Kirk family because that's what they need, is your support and your prayers, and that will get us through all of this. So thank you everybody for everybody that has stepped up. We've had such a phenomenal response to this. Thank you. I also want to give a special thanks to the Attorney General and the Department of Justice. Their unwavering support and their commitment to justice is shown true here. And without AG Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and the resources they brought to bear, we would not have been able to complete our mission. And I just want to say special thanks. It's an honor to be a part of the Department of Justice.
Thank you again to our incredible law enforcement team who has worked so hard. Sheriff, I got a solid 90 minutes last night, so I'm probably the most well-rested person up here. Ladies and gentlemen, I get the microphone, so I hope you'll permit me a moment just to share a few more thoughts about where we are and how we got here, and maybe a little bit of where we go from here. I don't want to get too preachy, but I think it's important that we, with eyes wide open, understand what's happening in our country today. I've heard people say, well, why are we so invested in this? There's violence happening all across our country, and violence is tragic everywhere, and every life taken is a child of God who deserves our love and respect and dignity. This is certainly about the tragic death, assassination, political assassination of Charlie Kirk. But it is also much bigger than an attack on an individual. It is an attack on all of us. It is an attack on the American experiment. It is an attack on our ideals. This cuts to the very foundation of who we are, of who we have been, and who we could be in better times. Political violence is different than any other type of violence for lots of different reasons. One, because in the very act that Charlie championed of expression, that freedom of expression that is enshrined in our founding documents, in having his life taken in that very act, makes it more difficult for people to feel like they can share their ideas, that they can speak freely. We will never be able to solve all the other problems, including the violence problems that people are worried about, if we can't have a clash of ideas safely and securely. Even, especially those ideas with which you disagree. That's why this matters so much. Over the last 48 hours, I have been as angry as I have ever been, as sad as I have ever been. And it was, as anger pushed me to the brink, it was actually Charlie's words that pulled me back. I'd like to share some of those, and specifically right now, if I could, I need to talk to the young people in our state, in my state, and all across the country. As President Trump reminded me, he said, you know who really loved Charlie? The youths. And he's right. Young people loved Charlie, and young people hated Charlie. And Charlie went into those places anyway. And these are the words that have helped me. Charlie said, when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. He said, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. The only way out of the labyrinth of suffering is to forgive. Welcome without judgment, love without condition, forgive without limit. He said, always forgive your enemies, nothing annoys them so much. A few months ago, I referenced this last night, Charlie posted to social media, when things are moving very fast and people are losing their minds, it's important to stay grounded. Turn off your phone, read scripture, spend time with friends, and remember, internet fury is not real life. It's going to be okay. He again said, when you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to commit violence. He said, what we as a culture have to get back to is being able to have a reasonable agreement, where violence is not an option. Now, again, to my young friends out there, you are inheriting a country where politics feels like rage. It feels like rage is the only option. But through those words, we have a reminder that we can choose a different path. Your generation has an opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we are suffering through right now. Not by pretending differences don't matter, but by embracing our differences and having those hard conversations. I think we need more moral clarity right now. I hear all the time that words are violence. Words are not violence. Violence is violence. And there is one person responsible for what happened here. And that person is now in custody and will be charged soon and will be held accountable. And yet, all of us have an opportunity right now to do something different. I want to thank my fellow Utahns. This bad stuff happens, and for 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us, that somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I hoped for, just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, hey, we don't do that here. And indeed, Utah is a special place. We lead the nation in charitable giving. We lead the nation in service every year. But it did happen here. And it was one of us. But I want you to look at how Utahns reacted the last 2 nights. There was no rioting. There was no looting. There were no cars set on fire. There was no violence. There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is the answer to this. We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes. Because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse. But see, these are choices that we can make. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country. But every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us. We get to make decisions. We have our agency. And I desperately call on every American, Republican, Democrat, liberal, progressive, conservative, MAGA, all of us to please, please, please follow what Charlie taught me. I'll just conclude with words I share often from a friend and author, Yuval Levin, who was asked if he was optimistic about our country. And he said, I'm not optimistic. He said, I hate optimism. God, that sounds bad. But he said, optimism is a vice. It's this idea that good things are just going to happen. He said, in the history of the world, good things have never just happened. He says, I'm not optimistic, but I am hopeful. And hope is the virtue that sits between the vices of optimism and pessimism. Hope is the idea that good things are going to happen because we can make them so. I still believe in our country. And I know Charlie Kirk believed in our country. I still believe that there is more good among us than evil. And I still believe that we can change the course of history. I'm hopeful because Americans can make it so. Ladies and gentlemen, we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Governor, can you please speak to whether the suspect is speaking with authorities and his demeanor, Tyler Robinson, when he turned himself in?
I cannot speak to that.
Governor, how do you interpret his motivation? Governor, how do you interpret the engravings on the case of
Well, I will leave that up to you to interpret what those engravings mean. I think the clearest one that says "catch fascist," there's not. And by the way, that's like catch like a ball, catch this. That's I think that speaks for itself.
Governor, you talked about this level of hatred that this person expressed at a dinner. Beyond that, is there anything in your view that you've discovered that may have radicalized or changed him to prompt him to commit such a horrific act?
There's nothing more that we can share at this time.
Governor, you indicated that he had been communicating with a friend on Discord about the gun. Do you anticipate any more arrests?
We do not at this time have any information that would lead to any additional arrests.
Do you believe he acted alone?
Yes. But the investigation is ongoing.
Can you talk more about the family, what they had to say about the suspect?
How he came into custody of police and where he is right now, Mr. Robinson?
Yes, so right now, Mr. Robinson has been booked into the Utah County Jail. You heard the president this morning report that he was taken into custody, that his family and a friend helped to deliver him into custody of law enforcement in Washington County. Those of you that don't know where Washington County is, it is the southernmost, southwesternmost part of the state of Utah. It's about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive from here, where we are right now, and that's where he lived and where they turned him.
Is he talking more about what the family is saying about Tyler Robinson?
I can't share any more than what I've already shared.
Is he talking about
Governor, do you have
authorities?
details on how he got back to Washington County and how the gun was obtained?
So, how we obtained the gun was found.
No, how the shooter obtained the gun and how the shooter then was able to get back to Washington.
So I don't have much more details on that. We do know that he drove. We had his car here on campus, and then we had his car going south back to the St. George. It's actually the city of Washington in Washington County.
Is he talking with authorities and did he discuss a motive?
I'm sorry?
Did the suspect plan to carry out any other attacks?
We don't have any information that would
Are you
lead
going to
us
be
to that.
releasing the mugshot?
Yes, in fact, it was just released.
Is he
Yes.
talking with authorities and did he discuss a motive?
I can't answer that right now.
Can you clarify?
You've spoken very eloquently about trying to reunite this country. Do you feel that this is a watershed in American history?
I absolutely believe that this is a watershed in American history, yes. The question is what kind of watershed? And that chapter remains to be written. Is this the end of a dark chapter in our history or the beginning of a darker chapter in our history? Look, I mean, if you look at true political assassinations in this country of someone of this stature, this feels a lot like the late 60s. And having one so gruesomely displayed on camera in all of our hands and in all of our pockets, we are not wired as human beings biologically, historically. We have not evolved in a way that we are capable of processing those types of violent imagery. And by the way, we've seen another one with a gruesome stabbing very recently that went viral. This is not good for us. It is not good to consume. Social media is a cancer on our society right now. And I would encourage Again, I would encourage people to log off, turn off, touch grass, hug a family member, go out and do good in your community. That is happening, and it's happening organically right now. I had a friend in a small city in Utah who said, we're getting together, the Republicans and Democrats in my little town are getting together to have a discussion tonight, last night, just to find a way to find their better angels. So yes, this could be, I mean, you know, again, you have to go back to JFK to have seen a video live of something like this happening. I wasn't born until 1975, but I know that things were really dark in the late 60s. Sorry to some of you. I know some of you were there. This is our moment. Do we escalate, or do we find an off-ramp? And again, it's a choice. It's a choice, and every one of us gets to make that choice. Two more questions right here.
Could we clarify that the release of those enhanced images at 8 p.m., the timeline that Director Patel gave us, led to the arrest at 10 p.m.? Is there a direct connection between those two events?
I cannot comment if there is a direct connection or not, but all I can say is that that through some process, the family came to know that this had happened.
One more thing, Governor. Could you just clarify the clothing issue you mentioned earlier? Was he changing outfits?
Correct.
Could you just clarify this?
Yes. So when he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point, so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting here at UVU. Last question here.
You said that the suspect was from Utah. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about where, and was he a student here at this university, and is there any history of mental illness?
Yeah. So I don't have any information on the mental illness part. He was not a student here at UVU. He was living and had lived for a long time with his family in Washington County. Thank you, everyone, for your great work in getting this information out. I would just say, process-wise, this may be important. I know many of you aren't familiar with the process in Utah. I think it's important that you understand that. Basically, we have 3 days for charging documents to be filed. A CI will be filed. We'll have more information then, more detailed information as those charging documents are filed in preparation for a preliminary hearing. So 3 days. So we would anticipate then that early next week those charging documents will be filed. We will obviously be working. The county attorney will be working very closely with Mr. Kirk's family as those documents and decisions are prepared and made. Thanks, everyone.